Welcome. We are so happy to have you all here today for our inaugural Circular Innovation Challenge, made possible by a grant from the WA Department of Ecology and organized in partnership with our colleagues at Seattle's Office of Economic Development. I'm Erin Adams, the Executive Director of Seattle Good Business Network. We are a nonprofit going on our 11th year with a mission to connect and inspire people to buy, produce, and invest locally so that everyone has a meaningful stake in the local economy. In addition to building a local economy that is vibrant and inclusive, it has always been core to our mission to build one that is also environmentally sustainable. And so we're gratified to see this program come together and to see local businesses, state and local government, and the general public recognize the need to transition from our predominantly linear take, make, and dispose economy to one that is based on waste prevention, reuse, and repair. In other words, a more circular and regenerative one. And we can't move quickly enough on this. According to the World Economic Forum in 2019, over 92 billion tons of materials were extracted and processed, contributing to about half of global CO2 emissions. The resulting waste, including plastics, textiles, food, electronics, and more, is taking an enormous toll on the environment and on our human health. The circular economy offers an alternative and an enormous opportunity for producing the goods and services our population needs. According to the Circularity Gap Reporting Initiative, the world is now only 8.6% circular, and the World Economic Forum estimates the circular economy can yield up to $4.5 trillion in economic benefits by 2030. So while we are working locally to support our small businesses and micro enterprises to create circular products, the circular economy and its potential is anything but small. This evening's event has been inspired by successful programs across the country, such as Austin's Reverse Pitch and New York City's Curb to Market competition, and also locally with Zero Waste Washington's Hackathon and Waste Summit. We have developed tonight's program with an eye to making it an annually recurring one, along with developing resources and a community of practice that will support circular business development and business-to-business materials exchange year-round. And now I'd like to introduce Nico Onoda-Maguire from our team, who has managed the 7-week program our innovation finalists went through, culminating with tonight's pitches. Nico manages our sustainability and circular economy programming, as well as our youth workforce development programming, where she connects hundreds of local youth to our urban manufacturers and producers, doing paid internships. She will serve as tonight's MC. Nico, take it away.
Thank you, Erin, for the intro. And thank you all again for joining us today. As Erin mentioned, this program would not have been possible without our partners and sponsors, who I'd like to thank for their support. First, thank you to the Department of Ecology for funding this program, and to Seattle Office of Economic Development, specifically Steph Gowing, who is here with us today, for the amazing strategic partnership. We are incredibly grateful to the opportunity to bring this programming to the communities that we serve. With over 20 mentors and judges, we don't have the time to thank them all by name, but we are incredibly grateful to them for showing up and participating so fully on an extremely short timeline, and of course offering their energy and expertise to help make this happen. With just 1 month of outreach about the competition, we received over 30 applicants, whittled those down to our 5 finalists here with us today, accompanied by 3 honorary mentions whose inspiring projects we're also excited to feature in today's programming. As Erin mentioned, after the 6 to 7 short weeks, our mentors offered one-on-one support and circular design and business development workshops. Our finalists are here today being judged based on 5 main categories: circular innovation, equity and community impact, positive environmental impact, product viability and scalability, and product pitch delivery. You can take a look online. We are linking in the chat, as we will throughout the event, at all of our mentors and judging panel, who represent a broad cross-section of industry experts, from national partners like the United States Business Council for Sustainable Development, to public partners at King County and Seattle Public Utilities, to local partners at Zero Waste Washington, BECU, UW, Microsoft, and Second Use, among others. I do highly recommend you all check them out, each of the individuals, on our website. And then last but not least, a huge thanks to our event sponsors, all who believe in the value of this programming and the vital importance of transitioning to a more circular economy. In addition to the Department of Ecology and Office of Economic Development, we would love to extend our thanks to Impact Washington, Seattle Public Utilities, Color Creative, Cascadia Consulting Group, DTG Recycle, EnviroStars, and last but not least, WorkTank, who are producing this live event here with us today. Thank you so much, Evan and JB, who are here with us today from their team. And with that, we will get started on the program. We have a packed agenda tonight, and we are kicking off with some rapid fire vignettes from our honorary mentions, along with remarks from our featured speakers from the Department of Ecology and EnviroStars. I will see you all on the other side. Starting us off, we have our first honorary finalist, Native Works by Chief Seattle Club.
Chief Seattle Club is a human service agency that provides basic needs for our members, many of whom are experiencing homelessness. At our day center in Pioneer Square, we provide food, primary health care, housing assistance, an urban Indian legal clinic, a native art job training program, and over 90,000 meals are served every year. In December 2017, Chief Seattle Club officially launched Native Works at Pike Place Market. Native Works is the first Native booth at the market. Vendors at Pike Place Market have historically used Native artwork without permission or consideration of Native culture. This is where circular innovation comes in. We want to create handmade leather journals by recycling the paper waste that Chief Seattle Club makes in its Pioneer Square office. Our capacity for making handmade products has been built and cultivated over time. But Indigenous people have always been caretakers of this art, and we want to promote Indigenous-led innovation and recycling practices.
Hi, I'm Tina Shafer, lead planner for the Department of Ecology's Recycling Development Center. The center was created in 2019 as one way the state could respond to the crisis created by export bans on recyclable materials. The center is a collaboration between Ecology and the Department of Commerce to provide or facilitate marketing, policy analysis, research, and development to strengthen recycling markets and processing here at home in Washington State. The Department of Commerce offers technical assistance to recycling businesses expanding or looking to locate in Washington. Restrictions in export markets, lack of domestic markets, and contamination levels in collected materials resulted in valuable markets like recyclable paper and plastic being landfilled. Removing recyclables from the solid waste stream and having a robust domestic recycling infrastructure helps keep recyclable resources in use and helps create a circular economy. Recycling and reuse are proven to be beneficial to the economy. Studies have shown that on a per ton basis, recycling creates 10 more jobs than does landfilling. The center's goal is to work with partners to improve domestic recycling markets with a focus on conversion or remanufacturing of waste, like mixed waste paper and plastics, into new products. In the year and a half that we've been up and running, we've been able to dive into our recyclable material series with specific research on plastic and glass. But one of our proudest accomplishments is the opportunity to provide over $500,000 in grant funding to local Washington jurisdictions and universities. It's strange to think that without COVID and the resulting state agency contracting freeze, we probably wouldn't have been able to offer these grants to local governments. We currently have 12 recycling and market projects underway across the state, tackling a variety of recyclable issues, from food waste to recyclable lumber to textiles. And as these grants come to a close in just over a week, we're excited to see and share the results, including this innovation challenge. I want to thank Seattle's Office of Economic Development and Seattle Good Business Network for pulling this event together in such a short time frame and putting center grant funding to such good use. The level of professionalism and the amount of work accomplished in just a few months is nothing short of impressive. The Innovation Challenge webpage poses the question, why local manufacturing? This hits the target for the center as we are focused on new technologies, business development, and expansion in Washington. This includes actively promoting manufacturing with recyclable materials to existing, new, and expanding businesses in Washington. To this end, the center is proud to be a partner on pilot projects like the Innovation Challenge and the types of enterprising projects to come out of it. We're proud of the efforts from all challenge participants and are excited to see the results. Thank you.
I'm Mike Wagner, I'm the founder of Cormat. We make high-performance packaging from food waste. Here's an example of a meat tray. It is safe from freezer to microwave. If you used it for hot food, you can microwave it, eat directly off of it. There are no carcinogenic fluorinated grease-proofing agents in it. There are no harmful plasticizers in it. And then when it's done, it's commercially compostable. What our goal is with the technology is to make a real impact in climate change. So about 6% of the US energy industry is in plastics, and a few percent of the climate change that we make as a country is in food waste, rotting into methane in landfills, and then going up in the environment. So if you have a profitable reason to divert food waste from landfills and make lower energy packaging that displaces that plastic packaging, you can make a real impact on the environment. We're seeking pilot orders from customers that want sustainable packaging that makes a real difference, and aligned investors that have an interest in reducing climate change and reducing plastic waste.
Hello, my name is Christy Chow, and I'm an Outreach and Engagement Coordinator for the Washington EnviroStars program. EnviroStars is truly an awesome program that recognizes businesses throughout the state for committing to sustainability and taking green actions at the workplace. EnviroStars is free to businesses, and all they have to do is go to the envirostars.org website and start an application. From there, they can note which of the sustainable measures they're taking in a checklist that's tailored to their business sector. Once they fill out their application, an EnviroStars team member will review it, ask clarification questions if necessary, and perform an on-site or virtual verification visit. And then once passed, the businesses will be recognized through the program, and they will have access to personalized marketing and branded materials, rebates and resources, and more. This concept of circularity is critical, and EnviroStars firmly believes in it and recognizes its importance. This is why the EnviroStars program has core measures in areas such as waste prevention, reuse, and recycling that businesses must take on to achieve recognition in the program. The program is also proud to report that because businesses are taking green actions and utilizing program resources, measurable change is occurring. We're excited about some upcoming upgrades to our EnviroStars web platform that will showcase these metrics so businesses can see, for example, how much water and energy they're conserving by committing to green actions. We also do our best to promote our resources for reuse and prevention, such as waste trainings and audits, free branded signage, etc. Via our outreach and social media efforts, we can make this possible, such as our monthly EnviroStars newsletter. And additionally, we love to celebrate recognized EnviroStars businesses who are proving to be champions in these areas by showcasing them in monthly recorded meetups called EnviroStars Small Business Meetups, and also live panels. And this background that you see behind me is the one I use for those recordings and discussions.
All right, next up, we are super excited to welcome special guest speakers here with us today, Director Mami Hara from Seattle Public Utilities and Director Pamela Banks from Seattle's Office of Economic Development. Thank you both so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to share a little bit about your current work and vision for a circular economy here in Seattle. I will hand it off to the two of you, starting with you, Pamela.
Good evening and welcome everyone. It's my pleasure to be here. Again, my name is Pamela Banks, and I serve as the Interim Director of the Seattle Office of Economic Development. I'm really excited to be here today with my colleague, Seattle Public Utilities General Manager, Mami Hara. Hi, Mami. OED is a proud partner to be here today with the Seattle Good Business Network on the inaugural Circular Innovation Challenge. Thank you to the Washington Department of Ecology for the Market Development Grant, which sponsored this pitch competition. This challenge highlights innovation in the emerging circular economy, which is transforming how materials are being used and produced and opening the doors for business growth while avoiding the extraction of our natural resources. The circular economy offers opportunities to entrepreneurs of all sizes, from startup micro enterprises to some of our region's anchor companies like REI, Microsoft, and Starbucks, which have circular initiatives and are committed to sustainability. You may be thinking about what type of jobs are needed in the circular economy. These jobs include product and packaging designers who work to improve the objects we buy, unwrap, consume, or otherwise handle every day. In addition, customer service reps or even creative industry jobs that leverage digital tools to showcase circular products' value. Growth in the circular economy jobs has been truly exponential. In 2018, Seattle area employers advertised 44 open jobs that mentioned circular economy. In 2020, that number jumped to over 450 jobs, more than a 10-fold increase in 2 years. In Seattle, some of our local small circular businesses are Moji Ingalls, Blue Dace Consulting, a Black woman entrepreneur who offers guidance and solutions for small businesses working towards zero waste and more sustainable business practices. Nick Mendoza's Neptune Fish Jerky is a Latino-owned sustainable seafood company that is at the intersections of aquaculture production and new food technology. And we also have Lindsay Lawrence with Metaphor Gear, a company that manufactures outdoor gear out of recycled sailing materials. As we continue to navigate the impacts of a triple crisis, the pandemic, economic recession, and systemic racism, we cannot return to normal. We must build community wealth and resilience. And one way of building community wealth and resilience is by investing in small businesses and innovative ideas like the ones we're seeing today. One of the pitch ideas we see here may one day grow and scale to provide inclusive, green living wage jobs. Another way of creating community resilience is assuring that jobs created today are inclusive, that we see Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities represented as workers, leaders, entrepreneurs, and everywhere in between. Businesses that are inclusive are stronger, more competitive, and innovative, and are able to grow and adapt to the needs of our economy and any challenges that require new ideas and problem-solving solutions. Here at OED, we are committed to building an economy that is not just equitable and inclusive, but also sustainable, one that works for all of our communities and shares a deep respect for our natural environment and nature. Mami, I know you've been doing some great work with demonstration projects and waste-free grants over at SPU, helping to spur the circular market here in Seattle. And I can't thank you for your dedication and support and that within our community. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Pamela. I appreciate your kind words, but I can't take the credit for all the great work that staff and the whole team at SPU are doing around trying to stimulate a circular economy here in Seattle. But I can talk generally about what we do and why promoting a circular economy is so important to us. Our utility has a focus on stewarding the environment and health, and that includes supporting policies and practices and innovations like ones we're going to see today that advance waste prevention and create a circular economy and bring us closer to achieving our shared vision at SPU, one we share with our community of zero waste. And while waste diversion like recycling and composting are important, reducing the amount of waste created in the first place is key to getting us closer to zero waste. And, just to give people a sense of the scale of the importance of this issue, product consumption accounts for about 42% of US greenhouse gas emissions. So it's easy to see how waste prevention is an important piece of an effective climate change mitigation strategy as well. As Seattle Public Utilities steps up our waste prevention work, including supporting businesses in their transition away from single-use plastics, we also aim to address the root cause of waste and toxins and to reduce their impact on health and the environment by targeting product consumption and consumer behavior. This is such important work that it can, and so kind of massive in scale that it can only happen through collaboration with partners and communities such as everybody here on this call. So Pamela, you referenced SPU's Waste Free Community Grants Program. We've supported some really inspiring waste prevention, reduction, and reuse innovations through this grant program over the past 4 years. I'll share just a few examples. Since the first grants were awarded in summer 2018, we've partnered with grantees to prevent the use of thousands of plastic bottles, single-use food service and packaging materials, among other plastics, repaired, recycled, and reused thousands of pounds of textile waste, rescued 7,000 pounds of food, reclaimed and reused 30,000 pounds of lumber, and created employment opportunities and increased equitable access to waste prevention opportunities for people of color and immigrant and refugee communities. These waste-free grants are just a small part of the important innovations happening everywhere in Seattle to engender a circular economy. And I'm sure everyone here encounters waste-free business models day to day. Maybe you use your neighborhood's tool lending library or share your vehicle or house or talents on one of many popular sharing apps. Maybe you've seen repair programs like Cascade Design's product repair shop in Soto, or one of the thankfully growing number of shops where you can refill soaps and shampoos. So, to end, I just want to say that, we're committed to learning from and supporting businesses and community efforts like these and innovations being pitched like the ones this evening. And, they are so important to creating systems and services that move us closer to a zero waste circular economy. So all of us at SPU thank the event organizers and everyone attending to support these innovations. So back to you, Nico. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mommy, for your kind words. Definitely was such a treat pulling this event together. And thank you both, Mommy and Pamela, for sharing the insight into your work. We are definitely so gratified that both of your agencies recognize the importance of supporting small women and BIPOC-owned businesses with sustainability and resources that they need to succeed. We definitely are encouraged and inspired that we'll continue to grow our community of circular innovators following this. So thank you. Next up, we have our last honorary finalist vignette, followed by a very special keynote in the form of a fireside chat between Senator Mona Doss and Stacy Flynn, CEO of Evernew. Hope you all enjoy Better Works.
Hi, my name is Lane Brinson, and I'm the founder of Better Works, which is a composite manufacturing company that is focusing on reclaiming carbon fiber waste materials. We are a company that is manufacturing composite components for bicycles out of reclaimed waste materials here in Bellingham, Washington. The reference project that I'm trying to show you today is our first product, which is a carbon fiber handlebar. It's exciting for all of us here because, one, we're passionate about doing things outside, but it's also really exciting because through some different relationships that our company team has been able to establish, we're able to reach out into the waste stream community for aerospace manufacturing and start reclaiming carbon fiber materials that would otherwise end up in landfills. So it's a pretty holistic idea as a company. Long-term goal is to go from handlebars to a whole string of different components for bicycles and then branch out more and more into other recreational spaces.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Mona Das. I have the honor and privilege of being the senator from Washington's 47th district, which includes Kent, Covington, Auburn, a tiny bit of Black Diamond, and a tiny bit of Renton. I have the pleasure to introduce you to one of my closest friends from grad school. Her name is Stacy Flynn. She started an organization called Evernew, and we're just going to jump right into it. It's what she's doing is, upending the entire fashion industry. No big deal. We're going to talk about the circular economy today, and I'm just going to jump right in. Stacy, welcome. It's so nice to be here with you.
Thank you, Senator Das.
I would love for you to introduce yourself. My favorite part about your story is, your story from China. So please introduce yourself, give us some of your amazing credentials, and tell me about that story in China when you decided to upend the fashion industry.
Yeah, I went to China in 2010. I was working for a startup in Seattle making clothing out of recycled plastic waste. And this was the first time that I went into the subcontracted areas of China. I'd been all over the world prior to this trip. I started my career at DuPont in New York, founded Target's raw materials division in Minneapolis, and then Eddie Bauer moved me to the Seattle area to manage the development of their denim businesses. But in 2010, I went in and really saw how damaging the apparel industry is to the environment and how people are living as a result of that damage. So I spent a month there and really was shocked by the conditions that people were living in as a result of the way we make textiles, and decided that I wanted to use the rest of my career to finding solutions that were powerful enough to supply our industry with the necessary raw materials, but do it in a way where we're not plowing through massive amounts of water and impact to air, soil, and trees. So that is what we are focusing on over at Evernew.
And Stacy, can you tell us that story of you and your coworker in that factory in China? That's one of the most powerful stories I've ever heard, and I'd love for you to share it.
Sure. Yeah. My colleague and I got to this one location. We were standing right next to each other outside the car. We could touch each other, but we couldn't see each other. The air quality was so thick with pollution. So we took an elevator up to our meeting room, and midway through the room to the ceiling of this factory, we were sitting under this cloud from outside talking about how we could do business. And it was so shocking to see that and to try to talk about how we could do business. It just didn't make sense. And it really woke me up to how massive the problems are in this industry. And now we're really focusing on what do we do to turn this around.
I want to share that Stacy and I met at Bainbridge Graduate Institute, which was called Pinchot University, and transitioned to Presidio Graduate School. And it was the first of its kind MBA in sustainable business. Stacy, I'd love to hear your definition of the circular economy.
Yeah, I mean, the circular economy, when we were in graduate school, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation was really just coming out with their curriculum around the circular economy. And I had the luxury position of being in graduate school when this was coming out, and really was in a position to build a company based on the foundation of circular economy principles. The EMF partnered up with the Schmidt Family Foundation, and they created the Schmidt MacArthur Fellowship. And they had 7 universities around the world, Ivy League universities, for the Schmidt MacArthur Fellowship. And they had one wild card position for all of the other students in all of the other universities in the world. And I made it into the top 5 as a wild card candidate for that award. So I was privileged to have access to that information. And really, when we look at the circular economy, it's about how do you keep things in materials and items in circulation for more than one iteration? How do we break down things that look like waste into new material byproducts and keep them in circulation so that we can create new, useful, meaningful new products out of it? So that's what I really consider to be the circular economy. Circular economy has no end versus a linear economy, which is a take, make, waste kind of model, which is what is the dominant model today. The circular economy allows us to essentially keep materials and systems in play for multiple iterations.
Thank you, Stacy. I also want to share with everyone that I am not here today in my official capacity. I am here as a businesswoman and as a huge fan of Evernew and Stacy Flynn, as a fellow alum from my grad school. I am passionate about making sure that we have a zero waste society. And that is why I believe in what you're doing, Stacy, and I applaud you for it. And I know you've been thinking about it and working on this for many years. So what I would like you to answer next is, what do you believe your company, how can it contribute to the circular economy? And then the last question I'm going to ask is, what's it look like 5 years from now? Please tell the audience how long you've had this idea and how long you've been working on it. And what does it look like 5 years from now once you succeed in your goals? It's sort of like the magic wand question. If you can wave your magic wand, where are you going to be in 5 years and 10 years? So that's what I'd love for you to share with the audience today.
I love it. That's great. So back in 2014, we took a t-shirt, one of my old college t-shirts, from a solid to a liquid and back to a solid with a syringe. I put these samples in 3 beakers, and I got appointments with as many brands and retailers as I could get in with. And I put my beakers on the table, and I told them that I was going to change their business with these technologies. Essentially, what we were proposing and what we're doing at Evernew is we're taking textile waste, we're depolymerizing it and extruding it back into premium new fiber. So the really cool thing about what we're doing is we can take waste and turn it into a higher quality new material than it may have been in its original form when it was new. And we can create products that are recyclable by design so that we can take them back and do it again. And that's why we've created this consumer facing co-brand called New Cycle. So we received our first funding in 2015, and we built the first prototype in 2016 for Levi's. And now we are preparing to begin commercializing through a demonstration facility in the United States. And really what we're mapping out right now is, where does all of the waste exist around the country, and what are the conversion strategies to get that waste depolymerized and turned back into usable new resources, so we can turn that product back into textiles or other types of end use applications.
Stacy, I know you live every day and breathe and sleep and eat this company. And I don't even know if you know how inspiring you are, and how many people who might be watching this will be inspired to live their dream, to feel their values and put them into action. So lady, I'm giving you a magic wand. What's it look like in 5 years? What's it look like in 10 years?
Okay, so to address the people, the innovators out there, the people who may have great ideas, one thing I will definitely, I didn't intend to create a business here. I saw a really big problem. I contributed in creating the problem and decided that I wanted to participate in the solution. One thing I realized, which I didn't know before, is people don't know what I know. People can't see what I see. So if you've got a dream, it's your dream to hold and never let it go, even if someone tells you it's not possible, because the truth is they don't know. It's not their dream, it's yours. So keep that in mind as you pursue your career, and really don't let it go. That's my advice. Even if it's hard, don't let it go. If I were queen of the universe and I could forecast where we were in 5 years, all people would be wearing new cyclable products. And recycling our clothing would be a part of the industry norm. It wouldn't be novel. It wouldn't be something that was special in terms of the process. It would just be something that we did, similar to the way we recycle our metal and our paper, our clothing, same thing. We should be creating really new clothes out of what we've got because now the technologies exist. It's just a matter of time.
Okay, that was your 5-year magic wand. What about a 10-year? Do you have one of those too?
So I would say in 10 years and beyond, 10, 20, 30, 50 years, I have this drafted out to the year 2050. I'll be 77 years old, and we're going to have a conversation at the end of my doc talking about how we just changed this industry and this world for the better. But essentially, in the future, all industries, all products will be designed to be fully recoverable and recyclable, and we will be making products and conducting business within the boundaries of planetary systems. And as a result, we will be making people's lives better through economic prosperity around the world. That's the dream.
Yeah, well, Stacy, if I know anything about you, is that you set your mind to doing something. Like me, you have those big, crazy, big, hairy, audacious dreams, our BHAGs, and we go for them and we do them. And I want you to know, I hope you know how proud I am of you, and I'm always cheering you on and always so inspired by the work that you're doing. As you know, I've taken what we've learned at school and taken to the legislature. Last year, I passed the ban on plastic bags. And this year, we were able to ban styrofoam and include minimum recycled content plastic in every new plastic container, beverage, garbage bags, milk jugs. So that's coming too. And so the renewable, the circular economy, those kinds of things, the principles that we learned at our grad school, I am just so honored and proud that you're taking them into your industry and I'm taking them into the government. So I would like to end maybe with, maybe a question I didn't ask you, something that you want to share with folks. And then we'll end with sort of inspiration. I always like to call it motivation.
Motivation. Well, I would just, really reiterate that, these big problems that we have in the world, these big issues, it's easy to get depressed, upset, almost get environmental fatigue around them. I do think that if we are able to switch our mindset and look at these problems as absolute opportunities, if one reality can exist, certainly the alternative is also possible. So I would say that is really what we need to stay focused on, is the opportunity, and we need to make it fun and we need to make it exciting, and that's I think our future.
Stacy, one thing I would love to hear from you is a story of when it just got hard and you had to dig and I know it happens. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur too. I know it happens often. So either a story about self-doubt that you overcame, or a story about, just going up against all odds. If you could just give our audience just a taste of the grit and tenacity that you have with any of the thousands of stories you have that you want to share today.
Well, I always did my best crying in the shower because you didn't know what was like coming from the faucet and what was coming from your eyes. So, there were plenty of days that I would cry and go to bed, wake up to just, there were so many days I thought this was over, and I'd wake up the next day to find out that it wasn't. So, there is a lot of adversity in creating something that doesn't exist in the world, and then finding the resources and the networks to actually make it into reality. So I'll tell you one story. I love this story because I was meeting with a mentor of mine for breakfast, and I was having breakfast with him, and I was absolutely at my wit's end because we were out of money and I needed a piece of equipment that typically costs about $50,000. And we're having breakfast, and I'm crying over my breakfast burrito, and he's just eating, listening to me, and I'm explaining I need $50,000 for this spinneret, this metal attachment, so that we can make fiber. And all of a sudden, he just puts his fork down and he says, "Stacy, you mean to tell me a piece of metal is going to get between you and your dream?" He's like, "Come on, like, what has metal and holes in it that you can prototype? Like, this is not over. This is not." He's like, basically, he was like, "I gotta go." And I kind of wiped the tears from my face, and I'm like, "What has metal? What has holes in it?" He leaves, and I get up to bust my plate, and I knock over a salt shaker. See, it's metal, it has holes on it. And for $7, I got a prototype. Would it have worked? No. But I got a PVC tube, a clamp, and the top of a salt shaker, and I fashioned a spinneret to basically create fiber. And what that exercise did was it allowed me to think about who in my network may have something that I could use. And I started to think differently, got out of my own way, and contacted a professor that I did some guest lecturing with, called her up, asked her if she had a spinneret I could borrow. And I had one at the end of that week for free. So these are just, the obstacles where, you might not be able to see how you're going to overcome something. Reach out to your networks, get good mentors, and, take the advice, because sometimes we need help getting out of our own way.
Okay, I think that's definitely my new favorite Stacy Flynn story. That was incredible. And I will just share a little bit of my journey as well. My family came here from India with $6 when I was 8 months old. And my only options were be a doctor or engineer. So when I said I wanted to be a senator, people in my family, my friends, the political establishment basically just looked at me like, you're not electable. And I just want everyone to know I am electable. I'm doing great work. And I'm inspiring an entire generation of women of color to run for office and win. And that's what it takes. You have to believe in yourself. So my motivation, you have to believe in yourself and keep going. Literally just keep going. Put one foot in front of the other. When I get stuck in a rut, I have 50 coffees. I meet with 50 people. And by usually meeting 10, like you, I've solved my problem. I've fashioned a salt shaker out of PV pipe and found myself a free spinner or whatever it was called. So Stacy, those are my 2 tidbits of advice for folks moving forward in the innovation circles. Stacy, I'm going to ask you a hard question. How much easier do you think this would have been if you were a man?
That is a hard question because I'm not a man. So, I do know that all women are splitting 1% of the $1 trillion that are out there. So, and, women of color are also having, an even more challenging time, so it is something that people are aware of. And I think, here's what I think. We have to live through these things to change them. And there are women out there that are changing it. And it's, it is happening. It's just going to take a little bit of time.
Can you share that statistic again about the men entrepreneurs and the funding versus female?
Yeah, it's out of the $1 trillion that is put to work in early stage companies, 1% is going into female founded companies.
So I think that's our answer right there. Thank you for sharing that. I know these are, very difficult lessons that you've learned. You and I have been friends for a long time. So I've been there through some of these ups and downs with you. And for those of you watching today, I just hope that you are as inspired as I am by this incredible human being that we have as a gift to the world. I do believe she is going to be the first billionaire that I've ever known. And I am so incredibly impressed with you and honored to know you and the service that you are doing for the planet, the hard work and the tears in the shower. are worth it. I'm asking you to please keep going. And as you always do, reach out to your community when the going gets hard. You've come too far, Stacy, to only go this far.
Yes, absolutely. Got to go all the way.
So thank you, everybody. Stacy, you're incredible. And I look forward to our next conversation.
Thank you so much, Senator Das.
And a final huge thanks to Stacy Flynn and Senator Mona Doss for taking the time out of their busy schedules to share their experiences and journeys in circular economy and entrepreneurship. Finally, it is my grand pleasure to present our 5 finalists and their pitches. Following each pitch video, we'll be opening up the floor for Q&A. Since we only have a short window for Q&A for each team, we will be sure to capture questions that have come up and share any answers that we couldn't get to in our post-event follow-up. So with that, it is my absolute pleasure to begin our finalist pitch presentations with Ellensburg Glass Recycling Cooperative.
If European and island countries have glass recycling rates of 90%, why does the U.S. recycle glass at a rate of only 33%? Kittitas County residents were very disappointed when our glass recycling program was deemed cost prohibitive by our county officials. To counter the loss of local service, Ellensburg Glass Recycling Facebook page was created to collectively haul our glass to King County and dump it in a bin over there. This worked for a while, but soon there wasn't enough room in the vehicle for all the glass, and people began making glass runs. The carbon footprint of hauling was bugging me. I read an article about a high school student who had started recycling glass bottles for her senior project in 2018. Megan was off to college now, but her mom and dad were still crushing glass in Manson with an Explico GLS machine. They invited us up to try out the machine. April and I fell in love and saw the potential for using it here. One of the most difficult challenges was finding a location for our operation. It was through the Rodeo City Repair Cafe that we found our home at the Oddfellows Cemetery. In November 2020, we launched a fundraising campaign. By late December, we had met our goal of $7,800 and ordered the crusher. Here's a photo of the 3 team leaders on the day the glass crusher arrived. Our excitement for this project hasn't waned.
I got first interested in glass recycling in researching the uses for pulverized glass sand. Finding uses seemed to be pretty difficult, so we all came together and decided to create this project so that we would have a lot of glass sand that we could play with and experiment with. I'm really interested in moving this project forward, researching and networking with different entities on how we can get this glass sold at a good price so that we could bring industry to our town while we also divert solid waste away from our landfills.
One of my passions about this project is putting the parts together, and while doing that, making sure it's safe for our ambassadors to come up here and utilize the facility, getting the power brought to the facility, getting the bunkers done, and just getting my hands dirty, making sure that this program is a success.
I'm motivated by a desire to create a viable, profitable, permanent sustainability program in Kittitas County. Building a financially sound glass recovery operation is the first step. Step 2 is attracting investors who not only see the potential in our product, but also see the value of our central location with easy access to 2 major traffic corridors. Glass ambassadors are central to this operation. Ambassadors explain their service to the glass donors and remind them to keep their product clean. We have established a suggested donation rate of $2 a case for beer and $4 a case for wine bottles. The donations go toward maintaining the machine parts. By far, the most popular application of new sand is as a soil additive. This is because glass sand has a negative charge which attracts and holds water, thereby hydrating plants and allowing easier access to necessary silica for plant health. We've had our new sand hauled off for use in pavers. We've given new sand to local sandblasters, and Clean Blast Corporation out of Tacoma recently requested samples of new sand to check the cleanliness of our product. The LV screener machine could separate new sand into grit sizes that would use 45% of our product. Sandbox and sand tray therapy application shows the versatility of new sand, which is much safer for children than regular play sand. Traditional concrete production is responsible for 10% of the world's carbon emissions. Let's hear why new sand is primed to sub for rock sand in cement.
The glass sand that's actually produced in Ellensburg is milled rather than crushed. So what that does, it makes more of a rounded surface, and that is better for concrete than crushed sand.
Our current machine doesn't have the capacity to handle all regional glass. Within the next few years, we will need a large automated machine that will require 3-phase power. We've already scouted 2 potential locations to move our operations. The new machine will crush 12 to 1,600 tons of glass per month while removing contaminants automatically, thus creating a more reliable supply stream of new sand for customers such as nurseries, golf courses, constructors, and public works operations.
Every ending is a new beginning.
What an inspiring pitch and community you have in support, Suzanne. We'll now jump into questions for Suzanne from the EGRC team. And my first question Suzanne, besides reusing glass as new sand, what other problems does taking glass out of the landfill solve?
The biggest solution to contamination of recycling is removing the glass. So if we can deal with the glass at a local level and we don't have to pay for the hauling to any kind of MRF, which would be further away. And I think it's rather common knowledge that MRFs typically have to dispose of 40% of what comes into their facility because it's contaminated. If the plastic or the cardboard gets contaminated with glass, it gets dumped. And that's a big reason why we like skimming the glass off the top and making a local use for it. This is in tandem with the House Bill 1543, the crop legislation that came out in 2019 that says, let's reduce contamination and do some outreach. And we're doing outreach as well. And that bill also established the Recycling Development Center, which made this competition possible. So I'm looking forward to more dual stream or multi-stream recycling statewide so we can keep the glass from contaminating other recyclables.
Thanks, Suzanne. And our next question here, when used as a soil amendment, what is a good mix of new sand versus soil? What is the market for it as a soil amendment?
Okay, well, that's a great question. We're just working on that Monday night at our glass crushing meeting. And we've talked to Cynthia Andela, who runs an operation in upstate New York, and she's been doing this for quite a while. And she actually had a study going through Temple University that found out that the best mix is somewhere between 15 to 20% new sand and the rest compost. So that would keep the pH level right. I guess what they found out is that the pH of the glass is rather alkaline. So if you use an acidic soil and check the pH, it might come out just perfect. Neutral.
And our third question here, how does the quality of new sand compare to other glass recycling operations?
Okay, our sand is vetted by our glass ambassadors, and they're quite conscientious in shepherding the glass from a container into the new sand. And we reject glass from donors if our standards of cleanliness are not met, and that includes removing the metal, the plastic, and also cleaning the organics out of it. So that's an advantage for our glass. Another thing is our ability to sort by color gives us an edge in aesthetic applications. And once we get our screener machine, we'll be able to mechanically grade our product into 5 grades, which will help us meet the market demand more precisely.
Thanks, Suzanne. And our last question here for you, if you win the Circular Innovation Challenge grand prize, what would be your first purchase as EGRC?
We would like to pay off our garage doors, which we had to put in to protect vandalism from on the machine. And we'd also like to pay our insurance all the way through January. And most importantly, we'd like to get the leveler machine, which is about $6,000, and start sifting the sand into different grades that will be more marketable.
Well, thank you so much, Suzanne. All right, next up, we have our second finalist team, the 2050 Company.
If food waste were a country, it'd be the 3rd top emitter of greenhouse gases, behind only China and the US. And Project Drawdown, the world's leading resource in climate change solutions, found that reducing food waste is the single most effective way to prevent global warming of 2 degrees C by 2050. Fruits and vegetables are the most wasted food group, with 50% of American produce going uneaten. And when you throw out this fresh produce, you're also wasting the land, energy, and water that got it to your plate. Our flagship product, the 2050 Smoothie, is the first instant smoothie powder made with upcycled fruits and vegetables. It replaces perishable produce in your kitchen. It can be blended in under 30 seconds, and most importantly, it tastes delicious. We specifically designed the 2050 Smoothie to tackle waste along the entire produce supply chain. We buy surplus and imperfect produce from farms and distributors, reducing waste at its source. We remove all water from this rescued produce, effectively eliminating waste due to perishability. And then we grind it to a fine powder, so that a beautiful strawberry and an ugly strawberry become identical.
Not only is the 2050 Smoothie good for our planet, it's good for you too.
Our smoothies are made from 100% real fruits and vegetables. They're perfect for anyone looking to add convenient nutrition to their diet. From college student with limited freezer space to a health-conscious parent seeking a quick, healthy snack for their family. And to show you just how easy it is to blend up a 2050 smoothie, we've prepared a live demo. I'll be making a traditional smoothie from fresh and frozen fruit, and I'll be blending our 2050 smoothie powder. Let's see which is easier to make. Ready, set, go. As you can see, the 2050 Smoothie is clearly the faster, cleaner, and easier option. Plus, it retains all taste and nutrition. Greg and I first came up with this idea while we were both studying at the University of San Diego. We both drink smoothies every day and wanted a faster, more sustainable way to meal prep. Since blending up our first smoothie in 2019, we've pitched at multiple pitch competitions and launched a successful crowdfunding campaign. We have already partnered with a manufacturer who helps us source our rescued produce and transform it into a dried powder mix. Whenever possible, we source our produce from the Pacific Northwest, including berries and apples from right here in Washington State. Our first 3 flavors, Rainier Berry, Seattle Summer, and Evergreen, are all inspired by our favorite Washington landmarks. To make our smoothies, we use a unique drying process that requires less time and energy than freeze drying, while retaining the same taste and nutrients. This ensures that the environmental cost of our manufacturing process is more than balanced out by the positive impact of our circular model. In June, we'll launch the all-new 2050 Smoothie Go product line, an on-the-go rescued fruit smoothie that makes it easy to bring fresh fruits and veggies with you on your next road trip or backpacking journey. As part of the Circular Innovation Challenge, we've spent the last 6 weeks working with mentors and fellow finalists to hone our idea and maximize our impact. One of the biggest takeaways from this experience is the value of collaboration. It's daunting to disrupt the linear system alone, but with the right partnerships and support systems, we can make the economies behind glass bottles, textiles, to chemicals, clothes, and produce completely circular. With this in mind, we are excited to announce 2 new partnerships that broaden our impact beyond our existing mission of achieving zero waste by 2050. As of this summer, the 2050 Company will be 100% plastic neutral. This is made possible through a partnership with Repurpose Global and a unique recycling system developed with guidance from our CIC mentors.
Our second partnership will help us combat local and global food disparity. To achieve this vision, we will partner with the Outreach Program, a globally respected nonprofit that has provided over 580 million meals to people in need.
With the 2050 smoothie, we can source highly nutritious fruits and vegetables from areas of surplus, transform them into a light, compact, and long-lasting powder, then transport them directly to the people who need them most.
We started the 2050 company because we believe in an optimistic vision of what the world can look like in 30 years.
We're not just making futuristic foods, we're making food for the future.
Awesome pitch, Greg and Austin. We'll now jump into questions for Greg and Austin from the 2050 team. Your first question in, what is rescued produce? Is that the same as imperfect produce?
Yeah, good question, Nico. And I think it's, good to clarify some of the jargon right off the bat. So rescued produce is essentially any, produce that's perfectly nutritious and delicious, but that would have likely been wasted. And I think a lot of folks are familiar with imperfect produce, which is, a group under the rescued produce umbrella. And those are things like, wrinkly strawberries, discolored apples. Those are some well-known examples, but maybe lesser well-known examples are, for example, when you buy frozen broccoli at the grocery store, you may notice that each individually broccoli flower is the perfect size. Well, all the teeny tiny broccoli flowers that aren't selected for retail, those end up getting wasted. So, that's another example of imperfect produce that we use in our smoothies. So while you have the imperfect produce that's under the rescued produce umbrella, there are also some other types that Austin can dive into.
Yeah, and just to add to that, the nice thing is we don't even have to ask people to choose this imperfect produce because it's the same. We just give them a powder and it looks the same if it's beautiful or ugly. So they can just take the powder and it's the same. But we also wanted to expand beyond that. A lot of people know about the imperfect produce from some subscription box companies. We wanted to dive further and really understand why food waste is happening holistically. And some of it is because of those cosmetic imperfections, but there's also this nuanced waste on farms just because farmers have a hard time predicting demand and hiring workers to come out and pick these strawberries if they don't have a buyer set up. So there's this whole issue of surplus produce that isn't necessarily imperfect, but we still consider that rescued produce because we can go in and say, if you pick those strawberries instead of letting them rot in the fields, we'll buy them up, turn them into a smoothie. We can source them in peak local season, which is right now actually for strawberries, dry them, and we can sell them all the way in January when you can't get any strawberries in the Pacific Northwest.
Awesome, thank you. Your next question in, do you pay farmers and others for produce that would otherwise go to waste or compost?
Yeah, so we think there is kind of the model that exists right now that got popular through companies like Imperfect Produce. That is a subscription box company that kind of gets it really cheap. That's kind of their business model. They buy this produce at pennies on the dollar because it would otherwise go to waste. We are currently getting it, like Greg talked about, the broccoli kind of farther up the supply chain in larger quantities to turn into our powders. But we're actually going forward want to really focus on the micro scale as well as the macro scale, getting in touch with these local farmers, and we'll get a fair discount, but it's really important to us if we're working with local farmers to make it worthwhile for them to put in all the resources, the labor to go and harvest it. So yeah, the stuff we get or will get going forward this summer and into the future that's coming from farmers, definitely paying for it, paying the price that covers everything to pick that strawberry and get it to us for a smoothie and a little bit extra. And then on the other end, there is some stuff we get for free. So one exciting partnership that's pretty new is with the Amazon banana stand. You might be familiar with these little
stations in downtown Seattle where you can just walk by and grab a free banana. And we've actually talked to them, and they're going to give us basically the bananas they have left over that they can't give away. And we can just get those for free and turn them into our smoothies. So it's kind of a balance between the two.
Awesome, thank you. Our next question, could you talk a little bit more about your local impact in Washington State?
Yeah, sure. Happy to start out answering this one. So as we mentioned in the video, currently we source as many fruits and vegetables as we can from Washington farms, but typically these are coming from larger farms who may see their fruits and vegetables wasted at the post-harvest level, like Austin just mentioned. And so while we're happy with, the waste that we're eliminating with our current product and manufacturing process, we wanted to have a more direct impact on local farmers in and around the Seattle area. And so that's actually what inspired a new release that we're having, 2050 pop-ups around the Seattle area that we're starting this summer, and Austin can talk a little bit more about those.
Yeah, so I was touching on that on the last question. So this is great timing. This was actually inspired by the weeks we spent as part of this program working with our other finalists and mentors. We got really inspired by the local impact on the micro scale, where on one hand, we're working to mass produce our current smoothie powder, and that requires like really big quantities of fruit, like 3 truckloads of strawberries to run through a run. So we were brainstorming, how can we just go to like a single farm in Washington State and rescue some of the produce there. So that inspired these pop-ups Greg mentioned. It's perfect timing, right, as things are finally starting to open up in Seattle. So the idea there eventually is to have fresh blend to order smoothies made from our powder, but then also have a flavor of the week that is made from locally rescued produce. So that could include bananas from the Amazon banana stand. It could include local strawberries if we were having a pop-up now, because those are in season. And while on the macro scale for our powder, it's kind of all about predictability and planning ahead and be like, you're going to have blueberries available. We'll be a dedicated buyer. If you need to get rid of them. On the micro scale, it's all about flexibility. And so with that flavor of the week, we can just wait to announce that until the week of, see what farmers have available and purchase that. And we're already working with 2 really great partners to plan for that, Farm Stand Local Foods and the Seattle Good Food Network, which we met through this program. So that's really exciting. And actually our first pop-up is this Saturday at Plastic Pub, if anyone wants to come check it out.
That's awesome. Sounds like a lot of great new partnerships. Our last question for you both here is, how circular is the packaging for the smoothie powder? Is it compostable or recyclable?
Yeah, so this is actually a great question because we're kind of in a transition. So this is kind of an announcement of our new packaging. Right now, our package is a larger bag that has 10 smoothies worth of powder, and that bag is reusable. So it's like a reusable Ziploc bag. You finish the smoothie out of it, and then you can reuse it, put your sandwich in it. It basically replaces disposable Ziploc bags. Going forward, we wanted to go even farther. We spent a lot of time weighing the options of compostable versus recyclable. Compostable is really great in Seattle because we have good compostable infrastructure. It's a lot harder in other states that don't have those composting facilities, because a lot of people don't know that even if you get a compostable straw at Starbucks, unless there is that infrastructure in your city, it ends up going to the dump, and then it's no different than plastic. It doesn't decompose faster in a landfill, it has to go through a process. So we're going to have a completely 100% recyclable plastic packaging, and we are partnering with Trex, who makes artificial lumber, so like benches, decks. And so we will collect that packaging and send it to Trex. And part of that is incentivizing people to actually return it. So how we do that is at checkout, you pay just 5 cents to go towards a plastic offset. And then if you send it back to us, you get 50 cents back in cash. And if you don't send it back, it'll be a plastic offset.
which Greg can just really quickly mention what that is and our plastic neutrality.
Yeah, because we are really mindful of, all the plastic that we will use in our new product, we've chosen to partner with Repurpose Global, where they allow you to pay a plastic offset. So for every 1 pound of plastic that we're going to be using, they'll be recapturing 1 pound of plastic from nature in areas around the world where the plastic waste crisis is most top of mind. So we're rolling out that partnership this summer and looking forward to being 100% plastic neutral.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for those answers, and thank you all for the questions. Next up, we have Refugee Artisan Initiative.
Hi, I'm Ming-Tong Edelman, founder and executive director of Refugee Artists Initiative. Do you know that refugee and immigrant women have the highest employment rates, over 12% at the height of COVID? Do you know that 85% of textile and garment are being dumped into our landfills? So here's a light bulb moment. Why not combine the three, create jobs for refugee women with living wages? So I want to introduce you to our zero waste pet products. I want to show you what inspired me. I'm an immigrant myself, and I care for refugee immigrant women because I understand the struggle they go through. Language, transportation, childcare. So we'll create a home-based environment so they can provide for their family while using their skill. So we have 12 artisans by 5 countries. Some earn their first paycheck in our program. Here are a couple of our team members.
Hi, my name is Brittany. This is Rizzo, and I'm the sewing coordinator.
I'm Jamie, and this is Eddie, and I'm the program and operations manager.
Hi, I'm Carmen, and this is Zap, and I'm the director of development.
We love our pets! We have a home-based program, but our artisans do come here to get in-person training and followed by video tutorials so they can make all kinds of different products. We collect donated materials, such as fabric, textile garments, from local Goodwills, local Ritwell, and individuals. We turn scraps like these into inspirational designs. Our products are designed for the needs of your pets from the moment they wake up until they go to bed. From the morning walk to playtime, don't forget our snuffle balls to keep them engaged while retrieving their treats. To bedtime, such as stuffing your own animal bed. Don't forget our cat baskets and cat toys. Super fun. Each label has QR codes to link to Story of RDI and our Take Back program. We try very hard to have carbon neutral manufacturing by using materials readily available within 60 miles from us. The estimated cost is related to sewing machines, cutting equipment, and payments to our artisans and staff. Our customers are those who want to buy pet products that are ethically made and earth-friendly and willing to pay a bit more. We have 3 markets: direct to consumer via online stores, wholesales, and through donations for us to make products for Seattle Humane Society. REI's Triangle of Impact: economic equality for refugees. 22 women-owned business created and being paid living wages. 2, decreasing consumption of goods and serving as a hub for Seattle's circular economy. We plan to divert over 5,000 pounds of textile waste, and purchasers can return our products for reuse post-consumption. 3, solving community problems. We have developed many innovative products in response to changing community needs. Here, we have donated over $22,000 of pet product to Seattle Humane. So proud of artisan Diba used the money she earned to buy her first car, and artisan knowing able to help to pay rent. Our vision of expansion is nationally. We see our model of circular and equitable economy be replicated to other parts of the country where there are refugee and immigrant women to use their skills to turn unwanted textile locally into animal accessories. All you pet owners are actively looking for a way to make the earth cleaner and your pet healthier. Be the first to make the switch to RAI Zero Waste Pet products. Make a happy pet and happy planet.
Awesome. Well, what a great product from the RAI team. We'll now welcome Ming in and jump into questions. Ming, your first question is, what are the unique features of your circular economy model?
Well, you might see the triangle that illustrated, but I will go a little deeper. So what really differentiates us is that our model is for employing refugee and immigrant women. Since we started 4 years ago, we have had women from all over the world, from 6 different countries: Afghanistan, Ethiopia, China, Burma, Bhutan, Morocco, Vietnam. We're like a little united nation here, welcoming the women coming to Seattle, those who have sewing skills and handcrafting skill, but may not have the language skills and know how to connect to a community. So we are acting as the hub to connect them and provide them skill training and making living wages through making different types of products. And the second things about us, the impact we make is that we really is a hub in Seattle practicing circular economy. We have many partners that we get materials from. And along that, we also have this take back program that we want to keep textiles that you no longer want, keep them out of landfill for as long as possible. So through our take back program, we will, for example, if your pet toys get all chewed up, it's okay. We like them back, and we'll actually give you credit for your next purchase. And we're going to use those material into future products. It can become a stuffing of the animal beds or other products. So that's the second area that we're acting as the community hub of a circular economy. And then third impact is our community. We really meet the needs of a community. Even before start making the animal pet products, we were really busy during 2020 using upcycled fabric, make them into over 80,000 of masks that are through donations and through sales. And during the pandemic, we noticed that there's an increase in pets, and with excess tile we have and masks we no longer need to make, we pivot again. So we are also here to make things that community need while creating jobs. And this is Bao, by the way, my pet. He's too little tired from the heat.
Thanks, Ming. And you touched on this a little bit, but if there's anything else you'd like to add, a popular question we have is, could you tell us a little bit more about how RAI has had a positive impact on under-resourced individuals?
Yes, like I said, I myself is an immigrant, and what I inspired to this work is also my upbringing. My own grandmother was a single mother, able to raise 3 children as a home-based seamstress. So I really understand that you can give people tools, skills, and we can, transform lives. And that's exactly what we do here at RAI. So what we do here is to partner with various organizations, such as Refugee Women's Alliance, Children's Home Society of Washington, identify to their case managers and others that women know how to sew and are motivated, because we get them in and nurture them to get their business license and go through all kinds of different type of mentoring and training. And depending on their skill set, they can decide as little as much they want to engage with our program. We have women that would love to have their own sewing shop. We'll make that happen by connecting them with other manufacturers and other designers. And so our goal is that we know they have difficulty in the beginning to transition to Seattle, but somehow they can still use the skill they already have, because sewing and handcrafting skill is a universal language. You can come to Seattle not knowing English, not knowing how to do computer coding, but if you know how to sew and meet the needs of local manufacturing capacity, we'd like to help you. And we proved that during COVID.
Thanks, Ming Ming. Excuse me. Our next question here is, how do you handle textile waste from your operations to be zero waste?
Well, that's a great question. I would invite you to come to our neighborhood. We're located in Lake City, one of the most diverse neighborhoods in Seattle with 23 languages spoken. When you walk in here, you will see an industrial scale. Every items that we receive our donations from organizations, companies. For example, we have a partner with California Design Den. They are a Amazon-based company that have a lot of return bed sheets. So every time they come in with shipment, we'll put them on the scale and weight them and then record them on our tracking sheet. And we also get donations through Ritwell, Goodwill, and other organizations such as Aileen Fisher, trying to keep the textile out of landfill coming to us to repurpose. We also have our hours for the public. You can come every Tuesday, Thursday between 11:30 and 2:30 to give donation. People have excess thread and materials that they come, and we will have volunteers to help us to sort them by materials and colors. So we will use those design and all the material we already have to turn it into new products. So these are some examples. As you can see, we have stuff your own bed and doggy toys. And I want to say that our artisan, Rahel, she was the one that took bags and bags of fabric scrap from our previous project after making over 5,000 fleece hats and neck warmer. She took these home and designed it herself. So we also encourage our artisans to use their creativity and turn our material into something functional and useful. So it's a collaborative between us and artisans and look at the demand of the market.
Thanks, Ming Ming. And for your last question here, how does REI track the amount of waste they are diverting from the landfill? And could you tell us a little bit more about your product reclaim initiative?
Yeah, so I did mention that we do weight them, and what happened is that we also really want to encourage people to donate back products that from us you no longer want. And for our new initiative, the Zero Waste Animal Accessories, we like to take them back from you, and then doesn't matter what condition they are in, we will clean them and we will repurpose them. And nothing else, they can become the stuff of the animal bed. All these things are all from fabric scraps. So we're very scrappy. No single scrap of fabric goes to waste.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ming Ming. Our next finalist here will be Daniel from DP Chem Consulting.
Hi, I'm Dan Parker, CEO of DP Chem Consulting, and I'm here to tell you about a significant waste problem we are looking to solve by turning that waste into biodiesel fuel that we call enzymodiesel. Now, my engineering team and we've been designing and building biodiesel plants all around the world for the past 25 years. We've used all sorts of feedstock for those plants, all kinds of oils, but one feedstock that we've been very unsuccessful up to this point in using is waste, fats, oils, and grease from wastewater treatment plants. That's right. We're talking about fats, oils, and grease, commonly called FOG, F-O-G, that comes from, you guessed it, sewage. Did you know that a total amount of fog that comes into the Washington sewer system is estimated to be over 20,000 tons per year? So how does all this fog get into the sewage? Well, let me show you. Here we are in the kitchen. Now if we look in the sink, what do we see there? Oh, some dishes, dirty dishes. And this dish in particular, if we look at it, looks like somebody had spaghetti with some olive oil and garlic. Really yummy dish, but now we got to clean it off. So let's go ahead and clean it, get this all cleaned off. Send all that grease that's on there right down the drain. So that's good. Now the grease is gone. No problem, right? Wrong. Big problem. All that grease going down the drain is going to go into the sewer pipes. It's going to coagulate in the pipes, possibly create plugs, maybe even create a fatberg. You've heard about fatbergs. A lot of major cities have had problems with fatbergs developing in their sewers. And what happens when you plug the sewer? Well, you cause huge amount of cost and problem for the sewer utility. They've got to send people in, they've got to clean it out, they've got to dispose of all that material. And even worse, if you plug the sewer, where does the sewage go? It spills out into the environment. Even worse, you've got an environmental disaster. So fats, oils, and grease, or fog as we call it, is a major problem when you wash that oil down the drain. And what are other sources of oil? Well, you've got commercial kitchens. In a commercial kitchen, it's pretty much the same thing as your kitchen sink. You wash the oil down the drain, but in the case of a commercial kitchen, they have a large tank underneath the kitchen. It's called a grease trap. Now the grease trap collects all that grease and prevents it from going into the sewer. But then the grease trap fills up, and what do? You got to call somebody to come pump it out. And they pump out all that grease, haul it off to the nearest wastewater treatment plant, and dump it in the wastewater treatment plant. What happens in the wastewater treatment plant? Well, they skim it off of the clarifiers and they haul it off to a landfill as waste. So in the end, all this grease gets taken and ends up in a landfill. Again, a major environmental problem. So when we remove the fog from the wastewater treatment plant, what are we going to do with it now that we've got it all collected? Well, first we separate out the fats, oils, and grease from all the solids and wastewater and other material. And then we convert it into biodiesel using a specially engineered enzyme called a Lipozyme. Now our partner in Israel, Enzymacor, has been working to develop this special enzyme for the past 15 years. They call it Tranzyme A. And they have a successful pilot plant that's currently operating at a wastewater treatment plant in Israel. The advantage of the Enzymacor technology is that it uses very little energy. It's a natural enzyme, so the need for hazardous catalyst is eliminated. And the biodiesel produced has a lower carbon impact than nearly any other renewable fuel. Now you can see why we call it enzymodiesel. So please join us in solving a major problem for wastewater treatment plants and sewer districts, while at the same time producing a low-carbon, environmentally friendly fuel. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel. What an informational pitch. We'll now jump into questions for you, Daniel. And the first one we have in is, how is the enzyme diesel different from regular diesel fuel?
Thank you, Nico. The enzyme diesel is actually molecularly pretty much the same as any other biodiesel. You really couldn't tell the difference looking at it. They're all water white, clear liquid that blends with standard diesel. So you can blend it. Right now, allowable blends go up to about 20% with standard diesel, but as the state mandates more renewable content, we hope to see that blend ratio go up a lot higher. But it really is very much the same as diesel, burns the same as diesel, and is a very good substitute for petroleum-based diesel fuels.
Thanks, Daniel. Our next question here, do you have any estimates of how much fog, fats, oils, and grease comes from households versus commercial grease traps?
Right now, most of what's collected comes from commercial grease traps, and that is roughly about 10% of all the fog, which is 20,000 tons per year. So about 2,000 tons per year is actually collected at the moment from commercial kitchens. The remaining 18,000 tons per year comes from a combination of both residential as well as other industrial sources that aren't as well regulated as commercial kitchens. And so there's still a lot of fats and oils that go into the system, and creates quite a problem for wastewater treatment plants and other utilities. It's a big opportunity.
Thanks, Daniel. Our next question here, how does biodiesel generation compare to anaerobic digestion of fog?
Anaerobic digestion is another way to take care of some of the fog. It doesn't digest extremely well. So you can only put a certain amount into anaerobic systems. And the anaerobic generates roughly about as much CO2 as it does biogas that can be combusted. So it's about half of the CO2 is actually sequestered versus what the biodiesel does. So the biodiesel is twice as good when it comes to recycling the carbon.
And just to follow up on that, what happens to the fog if you don't, quote unquote, save it?
Mostly it goes to landfill. Right now, almost all the fog goes into a landfill where it degrades in the landfill and is considered a major carbon emitter. It's one of the worst carbon emitters around. So by taking it out of the landfills and turning it into a renewable fuel, we're recycling that carbon and not having all that CO2 being emitted to the atmosphere.
Awesome. And then our next question and final question, what is the percentage of waste byproduct you cannot recover, and what do you do with it?
We estimate that roughly 40% is probably not recoverable, just because it would require going into individual homes and having people take the oil from fryers and dishes like in the video, and instead of putting it down the drain, they'd have to save it and take it into a recycling center. That's still a ways away before something like that can happen. So, and that's about 40% of that 20,000 tons.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Daniel. We are going to move on to our final pitch finalist here, Regenerative Textiles. And thank you all so much for the questions. We will be collecting them again and doing some follow-up post events. So thank you all.
Regenerative Textiles, diverting clothing waste from landfills, a total material revolution. We've all been taught that we should donate our used clothing to a nonprofit or charity so that it can be used again. Imagine a lot of you stuck at home in 2020 at the beginning of the pandemic, chose to do some sort of closet purge, and brought your unwanted clothing to the local Goodwill or Salvation Army. And this is perfect. I want to thank you for doing your part to prolong the life of textiles. However, the unfortunate truth is that currently only about 5% of all textiles end up seeing a second use. The rest of it ends up directly in our landfills or dumped overseas to eventually be landfilled or even burned. Textile waste, and clothing production for that matter, is a complex global system where you and I have very little power to control outcomes. There's so little accountability and transparency as materials move from one industrial silo to the next to this linear, wasteful system. At Regenerative Textiles, we want to build community-scale micro-recycling factories about the size of shipping containers that turn landfill-bound textile waste back into the raw materials needed to make new clothing. In a world dominated by inequitable global clothing supply chains, we want to redistribute power and agency back to our local communities and bring jobs and innovation back to Seattle. Our Seattle team of 5 co-founders came together around a shared vision of diverting clothing waste from landfills, albeit from a variety of angles. I come from 15 years of running Seattle clothing brands, local and global supply chains, and green materials design processes. Seeing firsthand how hard it was to come to terms with waste and to strive for sustainable practices inspired me to help address this problem. Lisa's background is in environmental management, recycling, manufacturing, and remediation, so she sees our project through an environmental business lens. Kareem is a finance and technology veteran who's excited to effectively upend the take-make-trash business model that has gotten us into an unsustainable linear economy. Kristen is a frontline operator of an apparel brand that is doing its best to do right by the people it engages with and planet we live on. And Ruth, with a background in community engagement, activism, and systems-level change, can't not see the better world we're trying to create. The 5 of us have a solution. Simply put, we plan to deploy a shipping container-sized recycling factory at the concentration point in textile waste, after charities have sorted through donations and rejected what they can't resell. Our box contains a set of proprietary mechanical and closed-loop organic chemistry processes that turn the end-of-life textile waste into high-quality, price-competitive raw materials to make new clothing, effectively enabling a circular apparel economy. As is, Seattle landfill space is filling fast. According to data, as much as 35 million pounds of textiles went to our landfill in 2018, not including waste exported and dumped overseas. There's so much value lost in landfilled clothing. Our technology is designed to locally transform trash into fiber, and then on into thread, fabric, and eventually into products sold to the public, all in collaboration and partnership with an ecosystem of over 250 Seattle region companies in the apparel and textile manufacturing industry. I'd like to dive deeper though. It's not just how much waste our box will divert and the things we'll make out of it. It's what this model ultimately unlocks for the environment and for our communities as it dismantles a historically siloed, inaccessible, and unsustainable apparel industry. The cool thing is that not only are people like you donating your used clothing, but you are also demanding sustainable products, over 70% more in 2020 than you did in 2016. The market for sustainable materials is ripe. Just the materials we plan to produce in our shipping containers have a 71% carbon savings compared to virgin material, and producing them locally saves over 94% of the transportation footprint. You're also demanding local products, and this is more powerful than you think. Imported goods leave more than 2/3 of the value of that product outside of our community. But if we buy a local shirt for 20 bucks, made from local materials by local artisans, that translates to over $35 in value from the multiplier effect of money and jobs staying here in Seattle. And if we take that same $20 t-shirt at the end of its life and regenerate it into new materials in our box right here in Seattle, that trickle-down economic cycle repeats and repeats. Less landfill waste, more sustainable business, less carbon emissions, and more power in the hands of local creators. This means local employment opportunities. This means funding for local government infrastructure, and this means pride in our city. This is the circular economy in action, and this is what we're working towards at Regenerative Textiles.
Awesome. Thank you so much to the Regenerated Textiles team. We'll now move on to our last Q&A session with Zaylin. Zaylin, our first question in, how do you handle material blends?
Thanks, Nico. Our intellectual property is designed around mixed materials. So just in the market in general, 85% of all textiles are made from either polyester, cotton, or a combination of the two. And then there's other stuff blended in there too. So there's all sorts of different companies, and we heard a little bit about Evernote earlier, who are in this mix trying to tackle this process. But we're really solving for the bottom of the pyramid in that textile waste. There's the clean stuff that's sort of easy to skim off the top, and then maybe there's some post-industrial waste that you can do some really great things with. But there's not a lot of solutions locally for sure for the stretchy, like throwaway, fast fashion type stuff that just really ends up filling up the landfill really quick. So our IP is designed around solving for the polyester and the cotton in those blended materials. And so that's what we're working for. Really tackling it at a local scale, designed for a local solution.
Thanks, Aylin. Our next question in, how will your box work exactly? Is it a staffed local neighborhood drop-off? And why is this decentralized model more efficient than a central one?
I'll start with the second half. We believe that the existing system for textile collection and for many other recycled products collections, recycled product systems, is working okay. An item like a shirt or a pair of pants deserves many different kinds of attempts to salvage it before it goes to either a downcycled product or into the landfill. So a distributed model actually can transform the waste at the concentration point and where it is right now. So we can spin up a box in a medium-sized city at a Goodwill collection facility after everybody else is done sort of picking through what they can salvage from it, different companies. And we take the trash, the stuff that's going to go to the landfill, that's going to cost a tipping fee, that's like filling up the Seattle landfill right now as we speak. So a distributed model, rather than taking the trash and trucking it or training it around the country or around the state, we believe that because we're designing our technology around a distributed model, we can process it on site and then have those materials re-enter the economy in a localized model. The first part of the question, what happens in the box? There's 6 different processes and 2 different sort of energy efficiency and recovery processes in there. It's long story is proprietary. Short story is it's a combination of mechanical and chemical processes that uses organic closed loop chemistry. So we're recovering everything that we're putting in and maintaining as clean a stream as possible for the outputs. Of course, when you get mixed textiles, you have stuff that you really don't want to have continue onto a second life. So our goal is to make sure that whatever we are making can also be then recycled after the fact again, back in the closed loop system.
Thanks, Aylin. And kind of a follow-up to that, what about the chemicals required to break down the textiles and their environmental and negative health impacts?
I guess there's some assumptions in there that there are negative environmental health impacts. Yeah, the work that we're doing is safe. It's designed to be safe. There are there's tons of different processes around the world that are trying to do textile waste, and some of it's mechanical, some of it's chemical, some of it's depolymerization, some of it's working under huge pressure, pressurized vats. Without saying too much about our specific intellectual property, I could drink some of the stuff and I wouldn't die. So that's maybe a quick answer to that. There's also within our systems designed, because I know I wouldn't be doing this if we didn't have it be closed loop, or just a recovery of all the different materials that we're using. And so the waste product that comes out the other end would be things like dyes that aren't recovered, or things like elastane and stretch material, which is just kind of the worst for textile recycling. There's nobody really that's been able to tackle that well, and it makes most items that you would think might be recyclable, non-recyclable. So we're able to sort of harvest that out of the system. And then, we're not solving for it right now because we're just getting started, but down the line, that might be another thing to solve for as well.
Thanks, Aylin. And for our last question here, how much will a box cost?
A lot less than the tens of millions of dollars that a traditional factory might cost, and definitely way less than the size of the problem, for sure. I can't say the exact numbers, but we're talking about a low CapEx, sort of modular, easily scalable model. So we'll spin up a box. If we need more throughput, we'll spin up another box. At the end of the day, textile waste is a global problem. So we're trying to make it so that it's not something that's hugely capital intensive. And so actually through the work we've already been doing, we've had interest from Haiti, from some folks in Mumbai, from Ghana, that are looking to spin up boxes in their communities. I think that's partially possible because it can be a localized solution that like puts the power back in the hands of the people on the ground where the problem's happening. So we're excited about that model, and that could be down the road, but right now it's about building the first box here in Seattle. We have a great city, we have a great community, as evidenced by all the people who fired up at the circular economy in this call. We have great organizations like Seattle Good Business Network, and I think if we all like work together, we can make it happen here.
Thanks, Alan. I could not agree more about the strength in numbers, and definitely we hope to continue this community of practice, building it out. And thank you for closing out our last Q&A session, Alan.
Thanks.
And thank you to all of our pitch finalists for those inspiring product ideas. And thank you to the audience for all of your questions. Again, we will be gathering them and trying to do our best to follow up on them. And we'll now be heading into the final stretch of our event. Thank you for sticking with us. We'll be asking you, the audience, to vote for your favorite product. And just as a quick reminder, our finalists were being judged on 5 main categories: circular innovation, equity and community impact, positive environmental impact, product viability and scalability, and product pitch delivery. And now we're asking you for your favorite. You should see a poll launching shortly. We'll give you a couple minutes to vote for your favorite. Let us know which product idea inspired you the most. Who would you invest in? And as we wait for you all to drop your votes, I'd like to give one last shout out to all of our attendees, you tonight. Thank you so much for the support and being here. We hope you're able to take away some golden pieces that helped inspire you to see how you can lead and support a more circular economy here. And thank you again to our program sponsors and partners. Follow us on our socials to stay in touch. You can reach out to the circular at seattlegood.org with any questions about the event. Again, we'll be doing follow-up to anyone who registered, as well as with an event reporting and links to all of our fantastic finalists. Yeah. And the vote is in, and a huge congratulations to Refugee Artisan Initiative for the Audience Favorite Award. Congrats, Ming Ming. Awesome, thank you all for your votes so much. This prize is offering a $2,500 cash prize, continued mentorship, and more. Thank you all for your votes, and congratulations, Ming Ming. And for a final drum roll for our grand prize winner of the Circular Innovation Challenge 2021 is Regenerative Textiles. Congratulations. Congratulations to our first ever CIC winning team. We're so thankful to all of our applicants and all of our finalists. who joined us in this inaugural journey, and we hope to continue with an annual cadence as well as maintain an evergreen program to help provide support to businesses, whether you're just starting or fully developed, to continue our work in transitioning our economy to a more regenerative, just and circular one. And that about wraps us up, about 11 minutes early tonight. Thank you all so much for joining us, and thank you to our sponsors again, the Department of Ecology and Office of Economic Development. We'd love to extend our further thanks to Impact Washington, Seattle Public Utilities, Color Creative, Cascadia Consulting Group, DTG Recycle, and ViroStars, and last but not least, Work Tank for producing such an amazing event for us tonight. Thank you so much for everyone for attending. We do have a couple short polls to hear how you enjoyed the event. And thank you all so much. Have a great night, and congrats to our two winners here today, Refugee Artisan Initiative and Regenerative Textiles. We'll be in touch, everyone, but have a great evening. Thank you so much for joining us again.